Welcome to another episode of the Fat Cats podcast. Of course, this is the first one of 2025. You know, there's this rule about when you should stop saying Happy New Year. Apparently, as soon as it clocks 1st Feb, that is when you stop saying Happy New Year. But apparently, we're in March. We have really taken our time to have our first podcast of 2025. But I think it's a particularly special one, this one. My name is Ruben Kihumoro, and of course, with me, partner in crime, Edwin Wabwire. Just a bit of a fraction of the other. The cats called pack. Do they move in packs? In litters?
Yes.
Okay.
So
there are some others that are hiding somewhere doing a lot of things. But we have some other quote-unquote fat cats that don't want to identify as part of us, but also very distinguished gentlemen that have been part of rugby in Uganda and have quite a lot to be told about them, but also by themselves, they have a lot of stories to tell. Just seated closest to me, I think it is only right to start with the bigger brother, otherwise we might be in problems here. Mr. Stephen Ogwete. From the little research I did prior to this, of course, he's a water engineer. What exactly is a water engineer? Is that like a water bender?
No. When you open your tap in the morning and you go to brush, tomorrow think about me.
Okay. Nice to have you on the podcast, Mr. Stephen.
Yes.
And close to Edwin, Mr. Brian Odongo, an electrical engineer. I hope I've not gotten it wrong.
No, you were spot on.
I think I have an idea of what an electrical engineer is, but anyway, these are two very, very, like I say, distinguished gentlemen. And it's the right way for us to start this 2025 campaign of our podcast. But Edwin, before we get into a lot, how have you been? Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year. Good to be back. I've been off the podcasts for quite some time. I've not done one. Unless you count on Bachi, which was in Nairobi.
But food.
Yeah, full of food. My job was specific there to ask a few questions and eat some chicken.
And saying,
though he didn't give me some soup, but that is a story for another day.
And saying grasshoppers have feathers.
Don't remind me.
Man, you embarrassed.
It was a long
You embarrassed
day.
Uganda.
That's what he said.
It was a long day. People sent me WhatsApp saying I should get a wife.
Man, you were struggling, by the way.
When it came to cooking, I just said, you know what, let's believe. Yes.
I think it was a blessing in disguise that I was not part of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, just jumping into, of course, the conversation with the gentleman. First of all, of course, thank you for your time. You have served this sport as players in particular roles and also as leaders for both national team and for your respective club, the Kampala Old Boys. I think I'm right to say that it was only KOBs. I don't think you've played for any other club besides that.
Played Pirates.
You played for Pirates?
No, I trained with Pirates. And we'll get to how that happened.
Okay. How does it feel like looking at the sport from the outside, having served it for so long from the inside, but now you're looking at it from a different vantage point?
I think it's a bit depressing at times when you go to watch a rugby game, having been there for quite some time. But then again, the one consolation is whenever I go, I see a difference in character, a difference in attitude towards the game as we did then. So you probably reach this point and realize that I guess now they're playing a different rugby from what we played. So probably I'm not missing. I don't know. I could probably struggle in today's game, or I could be prolific in today's kind of game. But yeah, the difference in the way they're playing probably gives you that consolation. But nonetheless, it's depressing to just be out there. Yeah.
Brian is always there, like as if he wants to leave and just be a fan, but somehow he finds himself in some other managerial responsibilities here and there. I told him he should accept and just come back in the Kavuyo.
One season is enough.
No.
One game.
Not anytime. Not soon, not.
Is it because you might be a little bit afraid of the kids these days? They run faster. They are a bit fitter, maybe. and a bit more agile than back in the day? Well, you guys were more bulk and power.
Prop, you compete against props. I'm certain Didi won't run faster than me. So, I think I can still play.
Yeah. Now, we put out one of our posts, and then it was quoted by Pajob Edgar with one particular scrum where you were involved. I think you were still putting on a Betway KOBs, the light blue Betway KOBs. It was a particular scrum against him and Didi. And he said that season that no one beat them at scrum time, and yet they were playing against forwards, especially front rows that were more experienced than them. Do you accept that?
I don't accept what he's saying. When did PJ join Pirates?
I don't know, like...
He joined after Impis.
Yes, from
After
Impis. That was
Impis.
around like
18.
2017, 2018.
I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I need
had
to
an
look at that
operation.
photo properly.
No, actually, that photo was Adnan.
It was Adnan and-
I wasn't in
and
that
Chimbowa.
scrum. That's why probably
Yes.
they had the time of their lives. Surely it couldn't have happened.
I was going to be shocked to hear that Brian was outmuscled by those Pirates chaps.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it happened when he was playing. So he left at the right time, and maybe they had a few good games, but
After they were waiting.
they were waiting.
I'm-
But
I'm
clearly,
retire.
I'm still doing my research. BOD told me that in his time playing, he has never lost to Pirates. Captaining.
Captaining,
He has
okay.
never lost to Pirates. I'm still doing my homework, but I have a feeling there is somewhere.
No.
He actually put even a substantial amount of money on it. Put 5M.
5M.
If we are to find...
Between October 2010
Yes.
and April 2016. Check the records.
Okay.
Okay.
Please check the records.
All right. We'll check and see.
Anyway, so Edwin,
Yeah.
getting into this conversation, first and foremost, these two gentlemen, when you look at them, what's the first thing that comes to mind from your early memories? Remember those times
Yes.
when we had just joined the Super 8?
Yeah.
You dodged the first game against Heathens.
The first
and
month.
then you were
The first month.
the first month.
It had
Remember-
Heathens, KOBs, Pirates.
By
I
the
don't
way,
remember that team. Then after I came, my first game was against
Whoever,
Mongas.
whoever was working on those fixtures was very
Yeah.
messed up. When you come from the lower league,
You start with
you start with the top second like that. So I remember we played Heathens, KOBs going down like that. We played our first game against Heathens. This man was the other side at the pork joint, the
Eating.
Kapok spot.
He
When we
couldn't
were
turn up.
suffering.
Fat cut in advance. Before, yeah.
So,
working towards
Yeah.
being a
So
fat cat.
when I look at Brian, I think the only thing I remember is that handoff Chaplain's Cup 2005. He gave one of my boys. I won't mention his name for anonymity purposes, but he gave my guy a handoff, and that was the time we got to know that there is a player who came from SMAC and was in the Barasas year. Yes, so in 2005. So that's when the initial interaction and buzz came around. That was Chaplain's Cup sevens, and you were playing sevens at that time. So
surprising, yeah.
surprisingly, yes. then for Steven, I think for Steven it was about the arrogance. I don't know. There's a low-key fanboy here, but it was just...
Is an
the
arrogance a pirate slogan?
No, it's Impis.
Impis.
Oh, Impis. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. You
Yeah,
can.
so
it can
the,
pass.
The arrogance, the aggro, and I think one of the fondest things I have is when Heathens were squeezing you guys at Chad. There was a time when KOBs would always go to Chadi or Legends, and they would always be watched by Heathens. Then there was a time I think fans shouted for you, and they were saying that, Ogwete, they have squeezed you, what? Then you turned at the fan and looked and said, these Heathens guys are paper bags. So, like, those are the keen memories I have, and obviously very many, as we'll continue discussing on this one. Yes.
Okay. I think my first memory of Brian was during school team training.
Yeah.
I was like a Form 1.
Yes.
And there were Form 6s there.
Yeah.
And Barasa, their captain.
Yeah.
I keep messing up the name. I think it's
Andrew,
Andrew.
yes, Andrew, yeah.
Andrew Barasa was just going to bench with them. And guys, make your runs, finish your runs. The guys are like, we're tired. Him and Ziggy.
Yeah.
They didn't want to run. And this was the week building up to the final against Mark.
Against Mark. Yeah.
Yes, but they went on to the final. They did their job, but that part of the training, that's like a first moment I remember seeing two very big human beings. I remember we were like Ujericans when we were in
Yeah.
Form 1, very small, looking at these out human beings.
Yeah.
That was my first memory. I think with Stephen, it definitely was club rugby, but Stephen, when I saw him this side, I'd be this side. As a typical number 10, I won't lie to you. That I didn't want to be part of that smoke.
Yeah.
Be this side. It's only whatever Brian that likes to run towards number 10s because he didn't want to be in the smoke as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting into this conversation, for you, I have an idea when it comes to you, but with you, how did rugby start for you?
29 years ago.
29.
Yeah, to be precise. Senior 1, Namilyango. You arrive there. Of course, then basketball was what I was playing or interested in playing. So I tried to juggle between basketball and rugby. But you see, rugby offered more of a team kind of setup. Of course, being Namilyango, they cherish more with the rugby in the school. And then you have a one Sogi, may his soul rest in eternal peace, who before every game has a barber in school. They are shaving his hair for the next game, and he's called all of us senior ones to watch, to sit there, and he's telling stories, and they are shaving his hair. And you sit back and say, I must be like Sogi one day. And this is, a senior 1 chap, not knowing that, we would be playing against each other at club rugby at one point, or be on the national team together. But yeah, those were, some of the first things that got me into rugby. And from then on, really, I never looked back. Went through secondary school, joined the university, joined KOBs. Of course, before joining KOBs, I did 3 weeks training with Pirates. I didn't play for Pirates. I did 3 weeks training with Pirates. And the reason was I was really, really ambitious and I wanted game time. But you see, entering a KOBs team that has Mike Wandera playing a number you are supposed to play didn't make, logical sense at that moment. But you see, having a conversation with the then coach, the late Edward Chitaka, who says, no, you put your work to it and you compete favorably and all that, you'll get a slot. So those are really my oldest fond memories of rugby. And here we are, 29 years later.
Of course, for all those that are watching us, we are at the Gardens, Nigeria. As you can see in the background, just preparing for another lovely evening. Good experience here. Of course, the week does have a number of interesting themes. Of course, starting with the quiz on Tuesdays, having the reggae night on Wednesdays, and having, of course, the rock night on Thursdays, among other things. And also look out for every end of the month, they have the East Africa Meat Carnival. If you do like to experience different meaty treats from across East Africa, please make it a date every last Saturday of the month. But anyway,
Let's hold on, Ruben. Who are the Pirates at the time when you were training? Who are the guys in Pirates at the time that you can recall?
Rujumba, may his soul rest in eternal peace. Herbert Wafula had just left Impis and gone to Pirates. Foxy Ojambo. Ramsey, I don't know. Ramsey was a water boy, I think, at that time. Who else? It's hard to. Roger Rukundo. Roger Rukundo. Actually, it's Roger Rukundo who asked me to go and give it a shot. So I think those were the guys then.
Even Rukundo played for Pirates.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, he says there was he ran away because of game time. But the guys who were starting, the Simon Ejom, you couldn't dislodge him.
No, you see,
he claimed he used to walk. He was walking on pitch. But
you see,
him and Vincent used to be on the bench, watching. I said, "But are you sure
we can't do better than You see, the thing is, the ambition then was to be a flanker.
Yeah.
So I didn't really look much into the lock position because you had Simon Ejom, you had Bobby Omona, and a few others there, and they were really they pulled their shift. We had a very, very strong pack, and you had these guys in there pulling their shift. So I didn't really look at the lock position. So my focus was on the flank, and you see then you had Mike Wandera, you had Chigude, you had Kagaba Paul. You had you have 3 people who are way your seniors and they have held down the number. and these are more or less national team players, and you're coming in as a 19-year-old. So you think twice, but we started the training, and a month later, I was having game time. So I think it was really putting in the hard work. But Simon Ejom was a solid operator. I think he'd be number one on the team sheet then at lock position. So
let's dial back a bit.
Yeah.
Joining Namilyango. Paint for us a picture of how rugby in Namilyango was back at the time. I mean, in our time, when you join, of course, they give you like about 2 weeks to learn how to maybe throw the ball, not even pass, throw the ball. And then they give you some S2 team to
S1,
play against.
S2.
These guys.
These
guys. Those are stories for another day. But just tell us, how was rugby in Namilyango at the time? I don't know if Chaplin's Cup was there at the time. I don't know if Father and Sideko was there.
Yeah.
But
Interclass.
Interclass. We had interclass. Of course, when we joined, Namilyango, bullying was real, not these pepper tigers that we have now or pepper bugs. But bullying was real. So all I can say about the bullying is first day we are walking, and then some senior threes say they want to look at our shirts. And before you know it, we are having very old, faded, and, shirts that are hanging on threads, and the guys are wearing our knit shirts. Then you get the senior twos, they're bullying you. So this opportunity of rugby, of course, seeing how Sogi was being treated in the school, but then also looking at the privileges that the rugby guys had. For me, it was straightforward, but it also gave an opportunity when they said interclass. The other guy bullied me. Now let's go on the table of men and we sort this out. So it was an opportunity, but not knowing that you would fall so much in love with a particular sport, where you went in with one intention of being the cool guy in school. For those who have gone to Namilyango know how rugby players are revered and loved. At that point, we didn't need to be prefects to have those privileges.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, other people are going to slash, mop the floor, and you as a rugby player, you're just waiting to go for the early morning jog, and then you're having a full saucepan of porridge with so many buns to eat. Yeah. So it offered a lot more in the school. So rugby really was everybody's dream in Namilyango. Yeah.
So if my memory serves me right, from the conversation I had with you, Brian, I think you, in a way, hinted that you identify more with SMAC than with Namilyango. I don't know if I'm telling lies on the podcast.
Why are you bringing that up?
Because it feeds directly into what we are going into next. So SMAC,
I don't want to say identify, but you were in a place for 4 years. So you've built a friendship over a longer time, but on both sides, really.
Okay. So how was it starting your life in SMAC as a young student, but also then getting into rugby?
Oh, maybe before he even gets there, I left Namilyango and then went to Makerere College for A-level.
Oh.
Yes,
okay.
And when we went there, we found a fantastic team, captained by Roger Rukundo then. And, we joined as a couple of boys and created a team. And I think in that particular year, in that period when Makerere College, we were competing with the big boys. We beat Budo twice in the league. Then Brian can come in to
0-0 halftime.
Brian can come into when Marcos played SMAC in SMAC. I think he was in senior one. His first month in senior one. Brian.
Okay. Tell us about SMAC.
About SMAC. Or about one thing I didn't know that he was in Makerere College.
You didn't know?
Yeah.
Those days you just get mail.
There was bullying. No, there was bullying even in the house. I didn't even know that we had left Namilyango to go to Makerere College. So we Form 1, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks into the school. So in Form 1, Form 1s are the ones who normally go around the away bus. You just, you form, I don't know if you're a villager or something.
No, we had girls in Marcos. We had girls in Marcos.
Form 1, you really cannot. In Form 1, you're totally useless in that realm. But yes, we go to the Costa. So I'm there looking at people coming out of the Costa. Then I see my brother. I'm like, hey.
When did he join that school?
When did he join that school? And there's a rugby game. Yeah, so that game actually was supporting Marcos because you've just joined the school. You cannot say
You
that
don't
in
have
the
that
first
heart
week
yet.
in Namliango, you would have supported Namliango if you saw your brother on
Playing
another.
Smack, that's true.
So yes, I was supporting Marcos, and my classmates almost lynched me. So that game, I think halftime was 0-0.
0-0.
Yes.
And there was a real crisis meeting. Again, being in Form 1. You know, Form 1's halftime, they're the ones who go and surround the school team. You're limitless in Form 1. You don't know that you're not supposed to be there. So we're listening to the team talk, and the captain is really complaining. Kabazi Cosmas.
Yeah.
It's not related to Kabazi Paul.
Okay.
He had another brother in my class who was actually also our class captain.
Yeah.
So he's complaining that how can these guys hold us? That Stephen Ogwete is playing almost all numbers. I think you are throwing the ball, being the scrum half, being the tackler,
hooker,
being
what?
the
Passing to myself.
passing. Yes. So the game was tight, but I think second half we pulled through and narrowly won.
Yeah.
So the next week, by that time I used to play football. By then it used to be small, like real
Real
thin.
small, yeah.
We need to see pictures
Even
to
me, I was
believe.
small.
I'll
Even me, I was small.
Yeah, you was big.
He was really small.
No,
Yeah.
but I was actually real small. So the next week, that's when I started playing rugby. Guys just told me, you know what, your brother is playing rugby, you have to play rugby. Because every other person in our class who had a brother, whether in a year above in Smack or in Go Budo, who was playing rugby, they had to tell you to play rugby.
Very unrealistic expectations. But tell me, did Smack also have bullying?
Yes, it did. It did. And actually, maybe in our time, it was more than what I found in Namliango. Way more.
You went to Namliango in A-level. You
In
couldn't
yes,
find
I'm
bullying,
saying
really.
that it's just 4 years, but it was actually a lot. In Form 1, we really suffered.
And how was that breakthrough for you into the first team of the school? From, of course, I'm sure there was a lot of interclass and whatever other tournaments there, those were internal school tournaments. But then how do you break into the school team?
That's in Smack?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about
I
Ngo,
don't think
worry.
I last played rugby in Smack in Form 4 first term. Where I had a broken arm.
Okay.
Chanowira done.
Fine.
But the week before at the Katesh, of course not intentional. We were playing survival. Then I hit Katesh and he broke his hand. 7 days later,
You
I
broke
got
yours.
Same fate also
minus
came,
the-
yeah. Wow.
So I didn't play rugby in Form 4, and yeah, like you said, you're going to the A-level part. But even in A-level, I really wasn't interested in playing rugby again.
So how did you, first of all, how do you even, it is very odd to see someone cross from Namiliango to Smack or Smack to Namiliango, especially when you particularly were interested in rugby or really liked that particular school you've come from. So how does the conversation of going to Namiliango even happen?
The stories I told about Namiliango, I think.
I think
Or you made a directive?
no.
Sometimes these things
of course,
are
it wasn't,
dictators.
it wasn't a bad option. It wasn't a bad option at the time of seeing that the Smack HM, a very great man, Brother Bukenya, I think had in his eyes were persona non grata in his school. I think being stubborn. I don't know why he thought we were stubborn, but yes, we got a clear indication that please don't come back in A-level. And that is something that I couldn't go home and tell my parents because I don't think, of course, yes, I got suspended in Smack, so maybe my dad had a hint that I'm a bit stubborn. So going to Namliango because I had a brother Stephen had been there, it was a no-brainer really.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a quick decision, and that we with the family took, and I went there.
Then finding yourself in Namiliango, one of the things that I know about Smack is had joined Namiliango, because even I remember now, you're the ones that came. Settling in is a bit challenging, especially when you want to fit in as a rugby player, but also you're trying to fit in socially, and then also there's the books bit of it that you're trying to balance. How was it like for you?
I would like to say it was easy because we were quite a number from who came from Smack, and then we found the Budonians who are also many in our year. Because I don't know if it's our year is the one that had actually many exotics, as we used to call them. So we kind of you found another group that was also trying to fit in. So we first gelled together, then fitted in as a group, and also the fact that we used to meet like we knew ourselves from O level. It was very easy for me to go and talk to the Barasas, the Ziggies, because we knew ourselves from O level. So really, fitting in was not hard. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember because I think you had the Katsos.
Yes, may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
There was
Davis Asimwe.
Yes. Davis,
Meanwhile,
Davis,
that
Davis,
team-
Davis. Yeah, that team was
That
also hot.
team,
It was hot.
Hmm.
It was quite the team.
I think fast forward, I'm not going to go through a lot of the school team part of Namilyango, but tell me about your recollections with that final against SMARC. You're playing your former school. You're playing against one of the toughest SMARC teams, at least from my memory that I know, against Felix Lubega,
Kabazi as well.
Paul Kabazi, and the like. And then that famous accusation, I don't know if you watched one of our podcasts by Mr. Mutebi.
Doctor now, yes.
Where Dr. Mutebi, where he said that to score that winning try, someone had to poke. Who
I
Felix?
gouged.
Felix
Barasa, I gouged Kabazi.
Barasa. It was
You said-
Odonga. It was Odonga who I gouged.
They outgouged
But
Dr. Francis.
you accept that these things
Yes,
happen.
the eye gouging happened.
It happened.
But he probably got the name wrong.
Oh, okay.
But what I can say,
Yes.
Lawrence ran out.
He ran out of the pitch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
And I was, and yeah, of course, at the end of the day, the trophies
is
we-
with
The trophies
Namilyango.
with
The history
Namilyango.
books has
So,
it that Namilyango
honesty is key.
won
Dr.
2006,
Mutebi is
and-
going to lead the strike. He wants that trophy
and
back.
of
What's that
course,
wrong with back?
we lifted it.
Yeah.
Very happy. I think those actually we still have those photos. They normally pop up if some
Yeah,
photo
once in a
of us
while,
in
yeah.
Coca-Cola.
Yes.
But I was up at that line. The line is I don't know how I could describe if that's Legends.
Yeah.
If this is Legends. The bar area is this side, where that second
Yeah.
is like towards, because we scored up on that wing.
Yeah.
Lawrence actually ran out because I was standing near him, and Kangumba Rodney from my classmate in SMARC actually stood up, which you see as a coach, train your players to play the whistle.
Yes.
He should have tackled, but he stood and raised his hand.
Oh,
As this
okay.
guy's
He thought he was the
running out.
assistant
running out.
But
referee.
you see also Lawrence was too fast.
Yeah.
He left the
ref.
TJ and the ref might have been
Foul.
back at Ngos
The-
22.
Yeah.
So yes, that's what happened. But yes, the
Yeah.
books,
Okay,
history
that's
books
a
have it
good
down.
recollection, man.
Namlyango won.
We just waited for the bus to 8 and we just started
Yeah.
running out of jumping through windows and whatever.
I know that prep,
Yeah, yeah.
you're not settled, you're not reading, you're just waiting
for
when
how
the
they
bus
come
comes
back.
back.
Yes.
Are they making noise or is the bus quiet?
Yeah.
Very important. So Stephen, any particular the reason why I maybe relate a little more with him is because I was around his time when they won. So I want to know maybe if you can give us a
And you
history
guys
lesson.
used to fear him.
Man.
sorry.
Yeah.
So-
Nobody should fear me. But anyway,
Any particular milestones in your high school time playing rugby?
my high school time. One thing I'll talk about my high school time. I'll speak rugby and football. The time I was in Namilyango, we had the most formidable rugby team and football team. I think we had a golden age in my class. You know, at that time, both football and rugby. I think whenever we played football, sorry, we are in a rugby show here, but whenever we played football as my class, you know, minimum 10 goals. And Simon Wakabi was our striker,
Yes.
but also Simon Wakabi was our winger in rugby. So, but then when you come to the rugby team, it was the golden age, I think, for me of Namilyango. I think no other class has had more people in the national team than the class I was in.
Can we list some?
It's the same Timothy Mudo.
Myself,
Hey.
Timothy Mudola, Stone, Rubas, Simon Wakabi.
Great, that is your class.
Yes, that's my class.
That's KOBs.
So the team was really
Tindikawa. This O'Brien.
O'Brien Tindimweba, yes, I had forgotten since he moved to Heathens. Yeah, so we really had a team from the same class. I think we had about 7 people who probably played for the national team.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had also people who were a mold of the superstar status. You know, Simon Wakabi, would be picked up by the coach every Saturday to come and play league rugby,
Yeah.
And the national team wingers then would be fighting for one slot, but the other is allocated to Simon Wakabi from school. So yeah, we had a formidable team, and I think, if my memory serves me right, at least for the 2 years I was on the Namiryango national team, we were champions. When I left and went to Marcos, I think they were champions for those 2 years. And my hardest rugby game in life was playing against Namiryango in Marcos.
I hear you got a concussion.
I got many concussions. I have stitches on my face because of that. So, but yeah, that was my recollection of school rugby, really. But formidable bunch of guys.
Side note, did you go for? Yes, you did. Who did Theaya go with for Sosh?
Obviously, it was Gungas. You guys went with Bingos.
No,
It was the Anguyos who went with Bingos, right?
I don't remember.
I think
because
it is the Anguyos who went with Bingos.
There have been these on social media.
Yes,
all this
they
back.
went with The Anguyos went with Bingos. Then Sunsas came and had a Sunsas show. I remember I was in S1. Yes.
Instead of reading books,
You were watching mature girls.
watching girls advocating. I am a beneficiary.
Watching 18-year-old
We benefited
girls.
in S6 or so. We had sauce with
watching
Sunsas.
watching 18-year-old girls. What were you going to do?
Lil Jon was singing at that time.
So anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because on social media there's been a lot of back and forth about Sosh and how things have transitioned. Now guys have ranges and what, and some people are doing hackers also on the Sosh. How was your experience like of Sosh?
Really normal.
Yeah.
Playing deco.
Did you
Was
also
there
did you
even
also
deco?
cut did you also cut the big bamboo tree and tie it in the middle of the main hall?
No.
Because that was our deco, the bamboo tree
I
in the
think
middle
What
of the
is
main
that?
hall.
Which bamboo tree was it?
You will not understand these
I
things.
think
Just
the deco
just
must
know
have
we
been
we were
cover
and
the
some
windows.
bed sheets to
Yeah,
cover
bed
the
sheets to
windows
cover the windows, yes,
for
yes.
senior
Those are
one. So
jackers.
those were hard times, right?
There's really there's nothing really flashy.
Yeah.
Were we even contributing money? Yes, but I think
Yes, you
very little
contributed.
money. It was a very
With
small
Mr. Malunda
contribution.
in charge and he hears you saying you're going to give
100K.
one. Even 100K was a lot. He would want to strangle you guys.
Yes.
He'd say everyone should do 30,000 and you
Yes.
become.
Because exec would do like 150 and then that's
So there's
basically
nothing like a
that's
hacker.
that.
And the
Yeah.
hacker started with you guys.
Not us. Though,
But anyway.
though confession, I did make noise a lot on Twitter about that hacker, but Chimono made us do a hacker in S6 or S5. I don't remember. He made us put on purple shirts and made us do a hacker or
So
something. I don't know if we did it because I missed
So are
that
they
game.
still doing it now?
They are
Actually,
doing
they
it on
started it
social.
after. They did it on social as well.
My
Yes.
goodness. And they
Anyway,
scare the girls.
as long as it makes them happy,
And the girls
let them.
happy.
Yes,
The girls happy. Yeah.
yes, that is.
These are warriors, eh?
Not paper
Not paper,
Not paper
paper
bags.
bags.
So,
Yeah.
paper bags. As we now fast move away from all that, looking at maybe just piggybacking from something we spoke about earlier on in the podcast. Looking at how the state of rugby is at this time and how it was back then, do you think it is in a better place? Do you think it is? It has maybe deteriorated? What is your thought process on that?
It's kind of difficult to make that judgment, but you see, if I am to look at it from a personal perspective, I see the enthusiasm of the players, I think, is down. I think when I go to watch, I see people who probably seem like they're being forced to be there on a particular day. When you look at all teams really playing, there is you find 10 players are pushing to be victorious, 5 are really down, and yet back in the day, you entered the field when you knew you were up for it, you're ready. Maybe 1 or 2 players would have an off day. I also had some off days anyway, but I see differences with the attitude, the differences with the way these guys perceive the game and what they are going out to do on a Saturday. And, the skill level might have improved. The way the game is played is different. It is quicker. It is faster. But, for me, I'd always looked at rugby or sport essentially as, first of all, an attitude thing. Is your mind in the right place? Have you come to play and live victorious? Short of that, so you really see when that is happening on the field. So yes, when I go to watch, at times you get frustrated. You imagining what could have been, and at one time, I think 2 weeks ago, I went to watch a rugby game. 3 weeks ago, I went to watch a rugby game, and I sat there and I was saying I would have scored a hat-trick in this game. Because everybody is playing and they are all bunched up in some small space in the middle, and you're like, now, is this, the skill is there, yes, but how is it that you guys are here? You're not understanding the expanse, how wide the pitch is, how far you can move this game, but you want to. So for me, well, it's difficult to make that judgment, but I see a difference in attitude with the players we have now compared to maybe what we had then.
Edwin, I think when I hear him speak and just echoing so many other older players or retired people that have spoken about the current generation of players, it maybe, if I can allude to the NBA and how especially those inside the NBA guys, Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and Kenny Smith, how they always talk about the new generation and how many people are saying that them and the extension of old guys, that they over-criticize the new generation. Do you think that there is maybe a bit of harshness in the way the old people look at the new generation of rugby?
Yeah, even there was a clip of LeBron James telling Stephen A. Smith. Telling him that, I think he was telling him that don't talk stuff about my son or something like that. So it's with all sports. Even on that show on, is it CBS of Champions League, you always see Thierry going hard on some of these strikers or whatever. So there is a way the game has developed. All sports develop, and in doing so, those who have played before, obviously it's noticeable that you can easily fit into this game right as it is. I think, as he said, the skills level at least has a little bit improved. Then also from their perspective, there are some skills that are dying because they can authoritatively say in their era they had hookers, they had wingers, they had powerful locks, and then now
we had specialist players,
exactly where you find there is more skilling, there is more ability to gym and whatever, but you can't necessarily see those specialist positions coming out very, very well. I think even noticeably, I think there's always been that problem that we have had an hooker issue. Now even it's creeping into center, now it's creeping into the wing and things like that. So there's, and I think even when you talk to them in their era, those were not big issues. I think the issues now then were about maybe this team is just better than us, but on paper they had everything. So the comparisons of eras will always be there. Obviously the times were different. That time it was crouch, bind, wapos, whatever. You would engage in a funny way. Now here there's a lot of safety on the scrum down. Those days I'm sure you'd first pull a guy like this, then you engage with him and he feels the hit. Now it's a little bit controlled in terms of collusion. So there are very many areas where you can say the old era was a little bit better. Maybe now that's where you come to these common identifiers that don't necessarily change even with eras. Aggression, passion, things like money obviously change, but aggression and passion, those are the things that I think when you start to compare is where you get the underlying answer.
But also, isn't this the generation that grew up with everybody is a winner? You go for a sports event, and I keep wondering, this ideology of everybody is a winner. No, not everybody is a winner. Somebody, you can't go for a race, 100 meters, and then you give everybody competition medal.
I don't think it's this generation. I think it's the children of this generation.
They are close to that. There's a thin line between
your children, actually, and the ones who are in that generation. That generation.
Everybody is the winner. No. So at times
there is no fasting
at times
class.
you think that because back then it didn't matter what game we were going to play. We'd probably be going to play a Nile. Then, and we're going to, score maybe 140 points against Nile. But my Saturday routine for the game was still, Saturday routine was still the same thing. You're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to fail to eat, you're going to have, all these jitters and so on. And it didn't matter who you were going to play. And when I look at it now, you can actually tell a team that has not prepared to play the other team simply because they assume they are too weak. And that is a challenge. If given a chance to knock out somebody and you have to score 140 points, score 140 points. Why are you scoring 30 points?
Now, what he says, for me now, I think this era now, the teams actually would compete. Even if it's, okay, I will not mention the team, but versus KOBs. KOBs of fine form, everything in order. They could give KOBs a run for their money. But for us nowadays, when we are going to play KOBs, first of all, training was a little bit scanty. Guys would not show up. Guys start saying they are sick.
Edwin remembers.
I missed the whole month. I missed the whole month.
He has
Edwin,
coursework.
At low school.
Edwin remembers he has assignments.
I remember I have assignments, I have exams. So you kind of fear the game even before it comes. I think this particular era, I think it's a little bit different. Here they come and they actually push the toe. Those days you would never have a handbag session against KOBs. Because you would be like, how do I handbag Ogwete? How do I handbag BOD? But now, it's more being about competitive. So now, a guy will come and say, no, I can't take you on. I can beat you. This number is not yours. I can't take it. So
Edwin,
that has changed a bit as well.
Edwin, I begged to chip in. Of course, there's evolution in everything.
Yeah.
I played with them maybe when they are
Fizzling out.
when they're
Yeah, they're here.
Either
When they had become paper bags.
Either we had become too good for them, so they decided to exit the scene. But also the thing is, of course, there has to be growth.
Yeah.
The league used to have 6 teams, of which 4 were limp. Okay, Impi sometimes would.
It was
and
Cobb
Rhino
Stevens
sometimes
then, you know?
would wake up and run. But you see now, the league has been spread into how many?
Yeah, like 12 teams.
12
now.
teams, which is a good thing,
Now,
by the way.
you're basically saying you need 48 hookers. Because each team has about 4 hookers.
4 hookers.
So you need, but then you needed 12 hookers. So of course, if you spread out, there's a bit of a drop in quality.
Yeah.
But of course, the end goal will reach a point where out of the 11 games you play, 9 are highly competitive, and the other 2 are not that you still have to be on your best to pick maximum points, which is a good thing, of course, for the union. So right now, what is happening is other teams we have Hippos, Walukuba. They are picking also good players. So when they come and face KOBs, it's not safe to come and say the KOBs of nowadays is weak. The Hippos of nowadays is strong.
Strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get? The Hippos of nowadays is strong. And they have, you see now, Hippos has that number 3. I don't know if at my prime, I don't know if at my prime I would probably injure him in the scrums to get an edge over him. But yes, the game is growing. And you just have to support it, because in 10 years, the league will change. You'll have surprising teams
Results
coming up. If we could get teams that keep
Like Pirates in the last 5 years.
yes.
Who knew they would be winning championships? So the league is
Because back
changing.
then, they would be under intense pressure. They would be under. You used to warn them because you used to train together. You tell them in the change rooms before you train that I don't know why you guys are training. But now you can't do that right now. You can't do that right now. The game will reach and the guys actually bring their A game on you. Of course, also money has come into the sport, which is a good thing. In 2015, national team, I remember telling guys at Silver Springs, look here, there's actually no money right now for the sport, because the sponsorship used to be about 178 million from Nile, and that was to cover the league, sevens, and national teams. So there's really not much money. They took us to South Africa the next year at a cost of 80 million. Now, many people didn't know that money actually came out of that same sponsorship. So the rest of the year, you're in debt. But I told guys, you know what? Just perform well. Years to come, we'll enjoy. Because more money will come into the sport. The government used to give 4
National
million.
Council.
Just give how much?
4 million shillings.
4 million.
For rugby.
My ministry, 4 million. Now it's in billions.
Three plus billion.
And they wanted to increase it to 5 or 6.
For next
So
year.
it is growing. people, of course, when you start paying a lot, there's entitlement that comes in. Oh, you've not yet paid me what. But back then, someone tells you there's no money. If you choose to enter that taxi to come for training, you have to put in your best. There's nothing like, I don't transport refund. You know it's not coming. So also such things breed some level of even indiscipline. So you see many complaints about money delaying this. It has a bearing. But back then, you're playing knowing on Saturday, I am not getting a single shilling. So you're doing it out of the sheer love for the sport. Same with national team. You're playing knowing here, the only thing that will come out of this whole national team training phase is travel allowance.
And when you talk about that, of course, it's growth. Huh? I won't take that away. But you see, as the money comes in, then yes, this player's attitude completely changes. And you see, I'll put that into perspective. Say for national team, we used to have the winning bonuses and then the match day allowances and the like. At that time, when I was, at my older age, about to leave the national team, if you recall, my match day allowance or winning bonus, I would sacrifice it for the junior players.
Not me.
Not you. You didn't need money to be motivated. But trust me, I won't mention names, but there are people who were younger joining the national team then who I knew and I could tell that money motivates them. Yeah. So you sit down, they're about four. You sit down, you call them to the room, you have a conversation with them and say, now we win tomorrow, my winning bonus plus my match day allowance is essentially for you. So in fact, you will go and pick it from the TM. So, and you see the next day, the shift they're putting in is really.
They would allow you stand at the wheel.
And they would allow me stand at the wheel to score a try. So anyway, it wasn't a bribe. But you see, you really see that the money factor was helping them be motivated. And I cannot take that away from them. Yeah. You get, because if that is what is going to help put food on the table at the end of the day, then yes, they deserve to be paid for the work that they're doing. They're not in a charity, the work they've done whole week and all that. But of course, then we were operating with minimal budgets. Now with the increased budgets, I think the players deserve to be paid the right amount.
So, one can argue, of course, back in your time, the economy was a bit okay. Right now, it's a bit tricky to be in this economy. And the argument is that, of course, that players are putting their bodies on the line and they're seeing all this money now that has come into the sport. And why is it that their payments don't seem to be
the trickle down is not there?
Yes.
I think that is a wrong thing from a management point of view. For me, your greatest... when you're doing a stakeholder assessment from anything, be it a business, be it sport, you look and say, what is your best asset? What can get this institution forward? If you have a CEO that is perfect, you'll try everything to keep that person. You'll increase the pay. Right now, the most important asset for the sport are the players that each of these teams has. Okay. So that is what you really need to cherish and treat right and, try to... If you have got a substantial amount of sponsorship package, I think the key point is to make sure that player welfare is number one on that list. You tick that bracket of player welfare. Every other thing can be a benefit, can wait. Yeah. But player welfare needs to be number one. For me, that should be the number one thing why we put money into this sport. They're not in a charity, honestly. Based on the time we played, waking up and coming for training on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, and you have a game on a Saturday, and you're doing recovery on Sunday. Essentially, it's the whole week. Yeah. So we can't take it for granted. They should be number one priority for me when it comes to budgeting and planning for how we utilize the increased resources into the sport.
BOD, you look like you have something you want to add.
No, I think he has hit that spot on, because the players are the reason we dress up to come and watch rugby on Saturday. If the players are not there, you'd not leave your house.
There is a bit of a buzz now when it comes to the men's premiership. At least the conversation is going on. There's media coverage, and even the competition is really upping itself. We're seeing different teams now. It's not just a two-horse race. But now, the biggest thing that is perpetually happening is on the women's side. We're seeing that the women's game doesn't seem to be growing. Yes, now we have a league of 7 teams, but ideally it's 2 teams that are trying to compete, of which even in those 2 teams, one team has been bossing the 15s for I don't know how many years now, 4 or 5?
For 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. So how can now how can we help women's rugby now to get to that level as well, at least or close to that level where the men are?
Should I go? Okay, I'll bring it from the angle of the Panthers, the KOBs ladies side. So of course, in the past we've been we have been struggling with resources. But now, of course, getting KCB on board, it helps. Now the collections that could have gone to sorting out KOBs issues can go towards sorting out the Panthers. Also, of course, I'm sure the management has put getting them a sponsor top of the agenda. Now with that, they'll be able to, first of all, attract young girls and retain also their more experienced people. So without money into the ladies' game, growth also is hard. Because if you look at even the men's sport, the teams competition started years after. The competition, like where you have an evenly matched game, it started after the clubs had established some bit of financial independence. Because now you can, one, attract young talent, two, retain your experienced players, and three, you can motivate, you can give somebody something, which we've already discussed, the issue of motivation. So if more money is sunk into the ladies' game, and it comes from everybody. It shouldn't only be the union, it should be well-wishers, people who are willing to sponsor the game of the ladies. Because on a national level, you can see that the ladies are actually doing they're doing an exceptionally good a good job. We now need to back them up from down grassroots and lift them up. So that will call for resources. The personnel to help them are there, but now we need money.
Does that, for this state, do you think now that means that maybe most of the sponsorship or the support that comes in needs to be piggybacked on the men's sponsorship? Because you may be in a position where the women's league is not as enticing for sponsors right now, but does that mean now the men or the men's teams have a responsibility that when they are trying to bargain for their sponsorships, that there should be maybe a cut or maybe a provision that they add that, we also have a women's team?
You see, going back to the work that me and him do, we always have social safeguards in the work we do. In a way that they'll, even in a site where you have metal fabrication, the person will come and ask, but we don't see any ladies here. You get?
Yeah.
And you cannot give a reason that, no, this work is too hard for them.
Yes.
I think this has to now be with the same route. If the government is taking that, surely corporates should be able to take that. Like, if we come on the table and we're discussing a sponsorship, I should be able to pitch also and say, look, we have also a ladies' side. So, as you're giving me a sponsorship, it is this amount, then you can add a certain amount and say this is to promote the ladies game. Because, and you also, of course, as a club, you have to show the benefits of it.
Yes.
Because we know what sport helps with. Definitely, sports can help to tackle things like teenage pregnancy. Surely,
there's a lot benefits.
Early marriage. All the other safeguards issues, which I'm not really going to mention here. So if you use that route, I think we can be able to pitch for these big sponsors and say, look, please help us add this amount, which will go to the ladies' game exclusively. It's not going to be tampered with.
You know, there is something that, and I'm surprised that everybody is missing out on this. You know, all these companies, if you look at KOBs sponsored by KCB, Pirates by Stanbic, and Platinum Credit for Heathens. You look at the national team, the sponsor for the national team. All these companies, when you go on their website, they have a dedicated site that talks about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The inclusion bit comes to that. How is it that we are writing proposals for funding to these people and we're not looking at that as our model going forward? Because if you're providing for inclusion, that means that you're having the women's sport also benefit. So if I come to you with a budget proposal for funding, then I must include something that will deal with inclusion of other minority groups in that particular area we want to go into in the sport. Women is one of them. What are we doing with PWDs and so on as we move the sport forward? But we miss out on this. Yet the companies we are talking to, we are probably even talking to a lady as we're doing this discussion.
Yes.
And they have that clear policy on inclusion, but we're not bringing budget proposals that are fronting inclusion as part of them. So we're leaving the ladies behind. And I think for me, it is a challenge that is from those in the management of the sport, that they are not seeing the benefits that the ladies sport can bring. There is a lot of innovating financing that they can look at that is focused at the ladies.
Yeah.
But you can only see that if you start seeing the inclusion that comes, the inclusion bit that you need to embrace and you need to adopt within all these clubs, even the national team. Honestly speaking, if you sat down and said, fine, you have received 3 billion from the union, for me, from the government, from National Council of Sports, for me, it doesn't matter what the women's team is bringing back in terms of media coverage and all that. The fact that these entities have that as already their internal policy, they are not looking at what value you're bringing back. They're just looking at having the women be part of the sport. So if you put that as a dedicated budget, I think that is something everybody will embrace. And for me, it is really us letting down the ladies.
Okay. So, BOD, did you join KOBs because of Stephen?
Yes.
Okay. When was that first time that you watched Stephen play for KOBs?
I don't think I watched him play for KOBs. I was actually not so keen on club rugby, to be honest.
This the trend that I'm seeing, everything you're saying, S4 you are not keen continuing rugby. SL level you didn't want to play rugby. Club, but somehow you find yourself.
Yes, you find yourself. So, in VAC I was a real fat cat, Garfield. I wanted
to chill.
I wanted to rest. And I never used to really go and watch club rugby. So I stayed and I used to talk to my friends from SMAC, and the guys who went with me to go from Budo. They're all keen. Actually, they all went to Pirates. So there was that idea, like we should go to Pirates. I think Barasa, in our year, you see the problem also in our year, few people had gone to KOBs. Barasa, Andrew, I think that's it. Had gone in our VAC, was training in what. So the other side seemed more enticing because more people. Kawazif, Vega, the Katsos were on. So I was like still deciding, but the first team I was actually supposed to play for was Heathens.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a phone call, must have been Peter Magona, and actually it was Peter, who told me to go to Chadondo for training. Like pre-season is starting, come. Now I didn't know what time clubs train. I was there at 2. So I waited till about 5 when the first people came in. They were saying, guys are talking about going for road work, and me and road work.
Like this. You're like, this one, we're not doing anything.
Fitness has never been my strength.
Yes.
So
Welcome to my club.
I cannot go and start off with
the running.
So I went back home and rested for like 2 months doing nothing until Stephen came and told me, you know what, your friends are here coming, your fellow vaccines are here training in box, come tomorrow and train. So that's how I went to.
How come they left you home during VAC?
I was enjoying the
Holiday.
fat cuts.
No, during VAC, Senior 4 and Senior 6, maybe that time Bugolobi had changed a bit, but back then when I was in VAC, Senior 4, Senior 6, it was a rough place. There was no room for just being there randomly doing nothing. So every time she would come home, 3 p.m., you're in the house. What are you doing here? Here is money. Go for rugby training. So I was being pushed to go for rugby training as a way of just
keeping busy.
Because if I'd stayed just like that, I would have been in one of those random bars in Bugolobi.
Let's see.
Now have
.com, I would be in .com and what?
You now have a 20...
A 20-year-old kid.
20? Yes. No. You were back in the year 2001.
Yeah, I was back 25 years ago. I would have been having
the Kwanjula of your child.
I would be having an introduction of my child, you know, if I'd not been forced to go for rugby. So I'm surprised they let you stay home. Because I was really pushed, saying, what are you doing here? Don't you have training today?
Yes.
Even random Wednesdays, I was asked to go and train. So I think then what we'd do, I remember Wednesdays, since they have given you money to go out and train, so we would go on the cricket oval and run up the stairs to keep fit. So it was a way out of trouble.
Okay. You've actually talked about something that I thought that maybe we'd end with, but I think let's bring it at this point. So they are pushing you to go and train. How supportive was your family to both of you in regards to pushing you guys to your rugby career?
Brian, you better answer that.
Let me start. Of course, mothers, you know, a mother will be a mother. The only special exclusion is Mama Redo.
Yes.
And last weekend we actually won, like, I was with I think the Biarus, and they're wondering how she watches her sons play. And they said that probably she has gotten used. But yes, mothers
she has gotten
are
used.
not so
I have
keen on
interesting stories.
not
about
so
Mama
keen
Redo.
on watching their children play.
Yeah.
But my dad, I think was my number one fan. In which one came before the other? So in Form 3, I got suspended from SMAC. 6 days after the term had started, and that term had
What did you do?
late coming, and he basically said
They'd suspend you for late coming.
No, they never used to do it. It was a one-off.
I was
It was
sent
a
home
one-off.
from Namilyango for breaking a bed.
No, you were.
What were you doing?
No,
I don't know. It's a long
Calm
story.
down.
When they suspended him, his father was, our father, was annoyed because he didn't beat up the prefect. His problem was not the suspension.
But how-
You didn't do anything to him.
To that guy who reported you. How?
So anyway, in Form 3, as we were going back to school, I told Dad, I need rugby kit. You know, and most parents, from a suspension, how do you even get shopping for rugby? Went with him and bought full rugby kit. Adidas, they were blue. Adidas boots, rugby shorts. I think it was even an England jersey to go back for rugby. And I told him, actually, the day I reported, we had inter-house. He told me, when you go, you play.
Do your thing.
Now, in Form 4, when they broke my hand, as we're going into because my hand got broken and also the wrist got dislocated. The wrist was this side, the hand was this side. So as we're going in for the operation, because it was a full, like, they had to give me that thing doctors do. He told me before, he's like, you have to go back.
Really?
Yeah.
Before going for the operation, he told me, by then, make no mistake.
You're going back to
You're going
sport.
back to this game. Make no mistake, you're going back.
Wow.
So that, even when I was in VAC, maybe it was a last born thing. Now for him, he says they would give him money. Me, Muse would drop me at training. Like, you come and tell me, I'm going for rugby training. If he's come back from work, he drives you to the rugby ground. At no point did he ask me not to play rugby. Because he even knew that, yes, I'm studying, but playing rugby. He never ever told me, you know what? Leave rugby, first focus on
Books.
No. He said, as long as you can balance, go ahead and play.
Okay.
Brian, you see, all that was coming from that model of the Bugolobi we were growing up with. You know, everybody was going astray in Bugolobi at that time. You know, .com had become .com, Rendezvous was Rendezvous, the Bugolobi market, people had started going into substance abuse and all of that. So a parent who kept the son or daughter busy at that time kept the son or daughter away from all of that. Remember, at that time, we didn't have video games apart from maybe going to the Edward's home to play Super Saturn, you know, that brick game and whatever. And then you are having a 1 hour now. The rest of the holiday, you have the whole day, you have nothing to do. So that is how people end up walking to .com, and you get into the smoking. Smoking goes to other things. You go into substance abuse, and many have run mad in the process. So our parents then looked at sport as a way of getting out of that trouble, out of that peer pressure. And you realize that when you came into the rugby circles, now you had a standard routine on what you follow every day. You know that you're going to run on a Monday. You're too tired to get into any of that. You're going to train on a Tuesday. You're going into a Thursday. You have game on Friday. So you're home the Saturday and your parents are happy seeing you home, and other parents are preparing and all of
for the game. Your best.
So for me, when I look back and I say yes to my children, sport is a must, because it's the only way you'll benefit from staying away from the peer pressure and what it brings, but also you're really physically, mentally fit, and then above all, you will socialize and you have teamwork. You also have girls coming and watching and screaming your name.
So anyway, sibling rivalry. Did this ever occur between you two? Was there any? How was it like, first of all, growing up with Stephen?
Can I walk away for now?
Way older. There was no.
It was pure domination. When he says he wants the last slice of bread, this is.
My
BBC. The views here are personal.
Personal.
Guys, they might close you for talking about, but it was brutal in there. He was a member of JAT.
The JAT that is currently terrorizing people.
He was. So in the house, there was no room for that. Also, the person who I followed is really humble. It's way different. I think if Pius was. If he had this character, I think we would have killed ourselves by now. But there was no sibling rivalry. Because he established dominance.
From an early point. Is that why you are annoyed that Pirates is now thriving?
Yeah?
Is that why you're bothered that Pirates
is thriving? Of course you get bothered when you are there. From way back, you see Pirates as a small team and all that, and you're walking out of the changing room for a game, and you look at one of the players with this look, and you say, and then you mention and say, by the way, we are winning this game by a mile. The likes of Soita and the like. But anyway, that said, when we go back to the home setup, it's part of training, because you see, if I wasn't that tough brother to these guys, I am pretty sure, these are lollipop kids. When you cry, then they put a lollipop in your mouth. Oh, keep quiet, what? So if you didn't have a tough brother, at one, now my role was to help and put them in shape. Because me, I received my canes like a problem. I was a typical African child. I don't think you ever got caned. You see, he has to think. You see, you have to think about it. So for me, as the big brother, was really to try and put them in line. And they really didn't disappoint and all that. But also, they learned that BBC is a very, very important radio station.
Until you learned that now they're a propaganda machine.
So
that the radio would never leave BBC in the room.
As you guys are listening to, what is that Capital FM thing?
The NRG and whatever.
In the night.
Let's
date. Yes, we're on BBC Focus on
Africa. What's your fondest moment of being part of KOBs? Or your fondest moments?
Let me say, my proudest moment was playing on the same team with my brother. Proudest. But there is something that tops it even more, was reaching a point and you're being captained by your brother. So that was a true sign of, in Luo we say choda hocho. Men have become men. So when he was appointed captain, you really, and I'm still playing, and of course there was a point of reflection. Now, how do I start? How do I take order from this guy? It's gonna be, but you see, that is because of the pride. Then I realized that now, for when we enter the rugby pitch, there is a leadership structure, and I was difficult to every captain, I think, in KOBs other than him. I think every time he spoke, yeah. He's okay. But my fondest moments was really being on the pitch with him for so many reasons. When he ended up joining the national team, I think your debut was in Nairobi.
Yes.
Yeah, was in Nairobi. It was a moment of pride. Yeah, so.
Did you guys ever play national team together?
From
Yeah.
2008 to
You played the
2000.
game. What was your first game together, if you recall?
That same
That
game.
same
That
game,
same game.
Uganda, Kenya,
Okay.
in Nairobi, 2008.
Oh, 2008. Oh, okay. I thought it was the other one. Where
When he was making
when
his
he won,
debut,
yes.
yeah,
That's
and you
one.
were 5, and you were
Won.
we won that game
There was
too.
a game. Oh, there's
They thrashed us.
Sure.
there was a
That
game
was
where
the-
Uganda lost.
Oh
and
yeah,
then won.
that guy that Kipto is tormenting of 2 of our players. Oh yeah, I remember that scenario. I thought we
Yeah.
had won that game
No, it was 2012.
when we won the 5-3.
2012 is when you
We were
lost.
together, but
you
won
lost,
the
but
Elgon
won
Cup.
the Elgon Cup.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Number 5, I was at number 3.
Wow.
Why are you thinking about the number like as
That's
if it is
unique.
either 1 or 3?
Yes, I think about either 1 or 3.
Yeah. But those were really proud moments, and I think from our parents' point of view, also they were looking at it as really a proud moment, you know.
I know you talked about always having the same mentality when you're going into whichever game you're playing at club level. But what's that one team you really were psyched to play against, and you really, let me say, for lack of a better word, hated them, that you wanted to play them and make them feel you so much?
I don't even want to call it hating. Every time we were going into a game against Heathens, you knew you were going to have a difficult game.
Yes.
A difficult game. And for me, those games against Heathens were special. Of course, then at that time, I think before 2010, it was KOBs Heathens all the way. So the Heathens games were always special. You didn't sleep well. You visited the toilet 5 times on a Saturday morning. It was a big one. And if I won't lie, to me that feeling was even bigger than when playing for the national team. You know, for some reason, you know, you're donning the KOBs shirt. The national team was always special, but donning the KOBs shirt and you're going to play against Heathens, you know that win or lose, you had to put in a solid shift. Yeah, you had to. If you came in half-baked, so that was special. I know you probably were thinking Pirates. Pirates, I think up until 2010.
I want you-
so
I want you to-
for 8 years of playing in KOBs, we really did not think Pirates. For 8 years, from 2002 when I joined KOBs to 2010, we really did not think Pirates. It's afterwards
But
then.
Pirates did beat you guys in
the Uganda
2007.
Cup.
Uganda
Uganda
Cup.
Cup 2007.
Yes.
I wasn't
And
on the
the guys
pitch.
were arrested.
I wasn't on the pitch.
I think
I've noticed a trend. Whenever there's a Pirates win somewhere, none of them was
I
on the
wasn't on the
pitch.
pitch. Yeah.
no, but that game there was national team.
There was a national team.
So
Yeah.
the KOBs national team,
players
and
were.
KOBs was really the national team at that time.
The national team
So they
players
really
were out.
Then Maruti gave away.
Yes, and they gave
penalty.
away
They
penalty.
in front
They
in
said
goal.
Pirates guys had an open bar that night at Kampala Rugby Club.
Yeah. So until then, really, for us, when we went in for those games, you clearly knew that it was a win, and then you would look at anyway, in sport. It's like in rugby, it's like doing up military tactics. You study your opponent, you understand, and me and him would sit down and understand. If you asked him now, I don't want him to say, if you looked at the Pirates team, we knew the 5 players to be around, because that is guaranteed yardage and meters gain. We knew. You look at the Heathens team, you knew the 3 players to be around. And I'm thinking also the other players looked at us. When they looked at KOBs, they knew. So for us, if you understand sport, you prepare for the sport well, you prepare for the game well, you know your points of weaknesses, you know where not to be found. Huh?
But I think Heathens had a Heathen strategy of hiding those people was spectacular. Pirates did not manage to hide those guys
those
we
5
thought
people.
are the
The weak
line
links.
of least resistance. Now Heathens, my friend in Kenya, I hope Deno watches this. Now you never find Deno in defense. When you're attacking, you do not see the Denos. You carry the ball, you see either Matayo, Sogi, may his soul rest in peace, or Scott. The other guys, you're not seeing them.
You're wondering
But
where they are.
You see them in the scrum. After
In the
that, I
line
don't know
out.
if they go to the change rooms and read newspapers and leave you with all of this.
It's 3-2.
Now, Pirates, find them all the time ready
to receive.
Noisier. I think for the Pirates guys were noisy and didn't know that, okay, here, if you don't make noise, you're supposed to stay behind as we operate this thing, but we shall not mention.
Now, talking about that, did you guys have like rituals as brothers where you would come, because you're talking about where we knew where to pass, which place to avoid. Did you have rituals going to games, even national team or any game of KOBs caliber? Yes.
You see, and our wives complain that we are difficult people. Like, it's hard to get our emotional side.
Yes.
We never used to come in the same car. Yet we used to. We are coming to the same room, from the same house. Somehow you would leave me I find me, even from training. So we were just synced together, knowing that we are the same person.
Yeah.
We just knew we'd pick the same targets. We'll figure out who the weak link, and that one we could discuss it even in warm-up. It was easy pickings, really. You'd really pick and know that, okay, this one. And that's what we used in the 2011 Uganda Cup
final. The one in Ginger.
Yes.
Yeah.
We used that strategy and just said, you know what, these guys have picked off, they picked 15 huge people, but in there is a bit of an alloy. It's not real steel. There's a bit of an alloy. So we've got the hybrids and pounded the hybrids.
Focus your center of attack
pounded the hybrids and won.
You actually, even with modern rugby now, you can clearly see the 8th man always carries, or the bulky number 12 goes in the 10 channel.
To the Rubens.
Incidentally, those guys who would be picked out were the noisiest, you know, like his Kenyan friend. After you have pounded him in a game, I think the photo you guys put on your me, his Kenyan friend was on the receiving end of that of that one. But you see, when you meet him later, he's the noisiest. Say, we had a good game. We had a good game.
You reminded me of the time I was on pitch making mob noise for we were playing against Rhinos, and that time Makmot was in Rhinos. I was making so much noise for the guys. Then one time, now it was our ball. The Musisi passes to me the ball. Somehow, I don't know if they closed out my options inside, and I didn't have anyone to pass to. Now, Makmot starts shouting, Ogana, I don't remember what I did, but
something happened. You kicked the ball.
You must have kicked the ball out.
Knock on.
I never used to knock on. Anyway, so just like I asked him, what are your proudest moments in KOBs and on the national team?
Me, it would be being named the captain of both KOBs and national team. For KOBs, maybe I could say I didn't see it coming. National team, I could have asked why I wasn't considered, which is really wrong. But you see, the fact that you've already captained a club for 4 years, because I was the KOBs captain from 2010, then I became national team captain in 2014. So at that time, I thought maybe, yes, I think at least I should be in the what? In the reckoning for that, but the KOBs thing, I honestly didn't see it coming, because I played for the club for 2 years really, and there was already a pecking order. But I think I beat Anguyo to the audition. There's some Pirates game. I don't know. Pirates keeps coming up in our jazz, but it was Wavas Pirates, and he suffered.
Pirates fans.
It was an erratic day for him as a captain, and I think we narrowly won that game through sheer brilliance, but he really suffered, and I think that's when it slipped. But also, I may keep quiet. People might say I was named the captain. Apparently, because I wanted to be transferred. I was about to get a transfer.
So transfer to
where?
I was going to the rumor of the transfer. There was,
I
think it was you were going to Pirates,
which was wrong.
So what was the story behind that?
There was nothing.
Transfer?
In 2010. You see, if I couldn't talk to my brother while at the club, which I would think is the closest, now how would I go and talk to Adrian Bukenya or to the Timors? Because now I can't talk to my brother, who I've known since I was born. Now these guys had created a certain level of superiority. So when we went to national team, I had Eric Butime, 2 years above me in electrical, and was with me in SMAC. Philip Karumna was a year above me in electrical. Now Solomon Namanda, friend to Eric Butime. So I just phoned them
people you can talk to.
People I can talk to. So I was closer to them in national team, and I always used to be with them. So I think that's when the rumor started swirling
It
around.
had nothing to do with.
It had really nothing, as there's no way I was going anywhere.
Where is Philip Karumunda? I've always looked for that guy. He used to have the afro and always play
He's-
number 9. I don't know where he
I think he has a bald head.
It's in mix. It's a hybrid. He has
hybrid.
at the back there.
The back bald
I
head
saw
and-
it. I met him
Yeah.
I met him personally, like maybe 6 months ago.
Oh, really? Okay. It's good
Yeah.
to see he's still
So really, I was not going anywhere.
Where did the name Captain Fantastic come from?
I don't know.
You don't know.
At least it's not me who gave myself the name.
I think decision making.
Decision making.
You know, when you have a
By the way,
captain,
he's
when you have
such a politician. I remember one incident on pitch, but let me let you speak.
when you have
Yeah.
a captain whose decision 9 out of 10 times is correct, you get to trust that person. I'll give an example of my captain Adrian. Adrian would be on a rugby pitch, do a carry, gain 20 meters, then relax a bit. But every
Strict
decision,
supervision.
but while he's relaxing a bit, he's on strict monitoring and supervision of the pitch, and the rest of you, the 14, are working perfectly. No, and you see, this is him as a captain to a point where and when it comes to the point of decision making, he will always make the right decision 10 out of 10 on how the game goes. So that is a person we had as a leader who just controlled the ship. Where emotions want to jump high, he just controlled the ship. One day, I think we were playing Heathens, and I think Roger Rukundo decided to go for a quick tap. And yet the captain, as usual, when a call has been made, you place the ball down, you turn to Adrian, and you wait for his call on the play. Rukundo picks the ball, quick taps. So we wanted to go and support him and rock. Adrian said, nobody move. And Rukundo was on the receiving end of real folding on the other side. Turnover. And then now he got a talking to. Next breakdown, the ball stays down. Let's wait for the captain
How
to make a
many
decision.
guys right now would be punished by that? There are very many.
So
Adrian would run mad if he played with Haruna.
yeah, man, this is why I'm telling
But
you.
you have to contain that.
That's why we have to
early.
contain
And
it
by the time
early.
someone goes to the field, he knows the penalty, you leave. Of course, you can't restrict quick taps.
Yes.
You tell a person, if you're quick tapping, it should be
It better
gain
work
us an-
out.
It better work out. To gain us an advantage or to go and score.
Yeah.
It's okay, by the quick tapping is okay. But you're not going to quick tap when the other team has set up.
Yeah.
You quick tap if you see the opportunities there, the guy has turned his back, you quick tap.
Just run through offside.
Keep the-
advantage,
But then-
yeah.
Remember how they hit V0?
Yeah,
They quick
it
tap,
when
they
we're in
hammer this
Nakuru.
back.
Was it Nakuru?
No, here, Nile.
Nile. Yeah. So you see, in all of these things, when we talked earlier, and I said, maybe there's something off with the rugby. You see, now when I talk about that discipline that we had, where we knew you're not going for a quick tap, you're waiting for the captain to make a decision, and you brought in that, and I figured it is not something that is happening. Everybody who is at the center of the breakdown or the break of play will just quick tap and go and do whatever. And I see it happening a lot. Yet you have an opportunity to just take the 3 points and rebuild. You see, why do people fear to take 3 points? Because there are one of two things that will happen with the 3 points. You will score or you miss, but even when you miss, the ball is back to you.
Kick back to you. Yeah.
So go for it. If you miss, they kick back to you and you start. But you want to quick tap and you go and you're folded, you lose the ball. So decision making.
So, 2008. What's your recollection of that whole situation in 2008 from what you probably had or read in
It
school?
was newspapers. Just reading. I think reading that at a particular game, I think in Makerere, that
At Chadondo.
it was a Chadondo, right?
article.
Okay,
There's that one of
yes.
KOBs Bad Boys.
It was called was that red paper or something? Yeah, something pointing
Rugby's
out
bad boys.
pointing out the alleged attack, which was on a particular referee following a game involving KOBs, and I think which team was it?
Heathens.
Heathens, yeah, Heathens at the
Quarterfinals.
time. So quarterfinals, I think, in a particular tournament. So that resulted in bans of many, and Stephen, you're one of those who got the sanction. Do you mind telling us what really happened in light of that? we weren't there. We were just in school. You just hear things and read things.
I was dying of Kau in school.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Biology was taking us. Yes.
No, I think for me, it was a case of wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
And 1 minute the game is ongoing, 2 red cards to KOBs players. I am on the stands, and then next minute I see the ref running into a tent, and I got out of the stands, and I am going and watching, seeing what's happening. Before you know it, when everything has happened, when the ref opened his eyes, I was the first face he could see.
Oh,
And
identifiable. Yes.
And yet I just arrived and I was looking on.
Stephen, you are
Stephen, are you sure you didn't do
on a
it?
picnic.
I was on
He
a picnic.
He was up in the stands.
It was up in the
on a
stands.
date.
How did you move? How did you move from up in the
And
stands?
that's the thing.
At
I
Chadi?
went to watch. I just went to see what.
Grandstand.
I was in the
up.
grandstands. I was wearing a Saturday floral shirt,
And
then
somehow you jumped.
somehow I went to watch, and he opens his eyes, and I was the first person he sees. And of course, try to explain we were invited for disciplinary, try to explain to no avail. And then I think I got banned for how long?
1 year.
1 year?
I think 1 year was the reduced sentence.
Yes.
1
got
year,
like
Wadia
2.
got 2.
Yes.
I think
Then
it got-
Fred
yeah,
3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then
And
the
you see,
reduced, yeah.
all of this because the ref recanted on his story about how I'm not sure if he touched me.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So if you're not sure if I touched you, then why am I in the middle of all of that? So of course, well, I have no ill feelings towards the decision reached that day.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a case of wrong place, wrong time, and we live by it. We came off the ban, went straight back to a national team, and life continued. So.
Then maybe one more thing. I do recall. I think, obviously, still newspaper stories. There was this particular story of KOBs being docked points, and that resulted in the withdrawal. KOBs, I think, the KOBs players at the time decided to withdraw from the national team. And considering where we are right now, in terms of welfare and the discipline issues that have arisen here and there, how effective was that particular choice of action? Because I think the national team, as you said earlier, the KOBs had, I think, the whole back line.
Yeah.
Nearly the whole back. I think maybe one or two players.
Bonimoro.
Yes,
Bonimoro.
was basically KOBs.
Chinelo.
How impactful was that, and is that something that could be done today in aspects of fighting for welfare or other agendas?
Brian, you played that game, right?
Which
The
one?
very next game after the KOBs senior players withdrew.
Yes,
It was
yes.
Uganda, Tunisia,
Tunisia,
and I
yes.
think you were on the back end of a 50-something,
The bank them 40 something.
40-something.
38.
Yeah.
38 something, and you will speak really to it. But I think for me, the thing that we need to do is ensuring that players have contracts that are binding, so that such decisions probably are not met. Because you see, then all that we signed was a code of conduct.
Yes.
But it wasn't binding, it wasn't a contract. So when somebody chooses to dock points from a team for using strange reasons,
Yeah.
and of course, eventually, when the KOBs players chose to walk away from the national team, then it was with reason. And I don't think anybody at that time had the right to judge them or castigate them for the actions they did. It was really a player protest that what you have done is absolutely wrong. Yeah.
How impactful, considering the times now, I think we've seen disciplinary matters involving Isaac Ujumba, Ivan Magom, and some other players in particular. How impactful are decisions like that to take player protests or some sort of withdrawal of labor? Mindful, obviously, their contracts right now, but how impactful would that be in a current setting right now? And I think one of the key things at that time was that it significantly impacted Uganda, coming off, I think, 2007 victory, and then there was a slump. Then I think even Scott played center in some moments. So how
That
impactful
game.
that? Yeah, how does that affect the national team now, or even words of advice to players currently?
Maybe you have to look at them. You shouldn't peg whatever happened with KOBs to these other cases, because if you look at if you look at the incident with KOBs, there's actually no evidence. There's the points were docked later.
Yeah.
Not without even, I don't think there was even no hearing.
Yeah.
And you just come and allege that somebody is coaching, and we're not seen Fred for like forever.
Yeah.
So you come and say still coaching KOBs and you dock points, and you dock 1 point. I don't think they followed any rule book or anything. So that, of course, in that you would stand with what the KOBs players did, because on one side you cannot want, you can't hate on me in the club and you want me to help you with the national team, because that KOBs was going to help the country
national team,
at
the
the national
country,
team. But if you want me to do that, also be nice to me here at club.
Yeah.
You can't bullshit. I
Yeah.
hope language is not.
Yeah.
You can't in at club, and then here you want me to be your savior. So in that case, but these other ones, to be honest, maybe guys will make noise.
Yeah.
And I surely don't care. But I think if you attack somebody on social media, an accounting officer of an entity, you can't come and say that you've been hard done by. I can imagine I tweeted right now about our former PS. I don't think so. I think we also need to tackle that other bit, that you can't. Yes, if the union has a problem, not every other way to tackle the problem is right.
Yeah.
Tackle the problem with the union through the right channels. If you think accountability is the issue, go and ask them for the accountability.
Yeah.
This is public information. Walk up to the union, and when they refuse, that's when you go and do it and say, no, look here, I wrote, or I went to the union at this time and said, give me the audited books of accounts for the last 10 years. If they don't provide you, then you can go on and say no. But if you come and talk about accountability, I would ask the same person, have you ever seen the books of accounts for the Ministry of Water and Environment, Ministry of Education? If you want them, you can go and ask.
You can ask officially using the Access to Information Act. But for me, anyway, that's why I said, as the union, they need to learn from this. Every player you think is going to be in and around your national team setup, from the beginning of the year, have a binding agreement signed with those players that clearly defines how they can behave. Because otherwise, such kind of behavior actually takes the game back. And for me, the action probably that the union has done is justifiable. Because you're taking the union back. You're going to social media and making assumptions on some of the allegations you're having. Use fact, collect the information, and then yes, you can have a logical way or an official way of making a complaint. But if you go to social media and you're screaming all sorts of things without information for that matter, then it's a problem. And if you know the way we are operating, I mean, look, many of us who played for the national team then, I think we always joke and say we retired when the union has some of our unpaid allowances.
Yes.
But you see, for me, that is not a problem. One day when they will go to their books and realize that they owed me money and probably call me to get the money. But I'm not going to jump anywhere and then scream and say there's foul play, somebody has done this and so on and what. I understand the institution that I'm in. If you understand the institution and how the union operates and how the union works, you will let certain things slide, knowing that there are better ways of going about it.
Okay, so there is something in particular I want you guys to listen to. BOD, I'm going to ask you to get those headsets. I'm going to give you mine because I'm going to be listening from here. This is something from one of your former teammates. I'm going to play it. We asked him for his thoughts about both of you and also how he would best describe you guys. Take a listen.
Hi Ruben, how are you? How can I describe Brian? I think Brian, I would say he wasn't called Captain Fantastic for nothing. Okay, material leader, strong scrummaging, ball carrying. Brian led from the front. Even me, I think he captained me a bit when I returned. And what I can say about Brian is a strong leader, leads from the front, always, and one of the props who would score tries for fun. Stephen Ogwete, Stephen Ogwete, I would say a bully on the pitch, very physical, very intimidating. He didn't, however, even if he met someone way bigger than him, he didn't take bullying lightly. Actually, he's the one who would bully even our big players. Very, very, very intimidating by word of mouth. For him, he would play even with the mouth. No one of those guys would bully a lot. You see what Aziz Bagalana does touching at opponents' heads. For him, would just talk. He says, you're weak, you come, I'm coming your way. And funny thing, he would come your way and still dominate you. What can I say? Maybe most, the OD is more of a very serious person, serious player. I don't think there's anything funny or interesting I have of him, and also the generational space. But Ogwete, I think I remember this game against Heathens. I think it was a brawl between him and Scott. Him grabbing the ball and trying to lift him off the ground, and he's actually holding his ground. These guys are coming all over him. Whistle goes, but funny enough, they all failed to put him down. He slams the ball down and he's like, I told you guys, you're weak. You're paper tigers. You can't manage. This act the entire events park, and it was an interesting game actually thereafter.
Wow.
So that's a bit
Interesting
of
perception.
I want to get your reactions on that as we start to think about closing. I'll start with you because half of it was about you and your antics.
Bully.
Bully, yeah.
That is what sport is, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, if you... Let me use a football analogy. Put Sergio Ramos on a football field, at least when he was playing defense in the La Liga.
Yes.
80% of what Sergio Ramos did on the football pitch was starting off by bullying the strikers around him. And that puts you in a scenario where, you know, if you dominate somebody mentally, then you're going to dominate that person physically, irrespective of how big the person is. So yes, it is true, but it's something which, and the team we played in then was really about having a good mix of certain types of players. So some of us on the pitch probably offered that. You had a Victor Wadia who offered the perfect defense. Maybe me, I offered one or two carries, a try here, and the word of mouth, you know, the team spokesperson. And then you have the Bryans who offered, you know, calm and you know, everything is done in the right way. So when you set up a team in that way, then yes, you're bound to actually win. So for me, I offered what the team expected of me. And whenever you had the conversation with the coaches, they say, do as you always do. So nobody said, don't do it. So, but that coming from my great friend of 29 years, you know, we started rugby together. Is what's the word to use?
Surreal.
It's surreal, actually. Yeah.
BOD. Any reactions?
You can't say someone has described you well, but it's good to hear that from Timo. It's good to hear that that's what he thinks of me, and I appreciate that. I actually took over from Timo as a KOBs captain, because those days it used to be 2 years, then you hand over. It's me who took 6 years, not because I
wanted to say something
myself onto the position. Yes, but
Yes.
it's good to hear Timothy Mudola say that about me, and yeah, I'm really honored to.
So on top of that, we ran a social media post where we talked about, we put out a post saying that in our first podcast of 2025, we host brothers and former KOBs Rugby and Rugby Cranes players, Brian Odongo and Stephen Ogwete. What do you know about them, and do you have any questions you'd like us to ask them? A number of comments and questions came through. Then this one was from a person called Kagen Jose. asking BOD, for BOD, how did he command respect on pitch whereby his teammates would listen and not talk back?
That came from, it first of all came from the culture of the club, because I took over. Adrian was the captain before Timothy Mudola. Then I took over. So as a club, we already had that system in KOBs where no one was bigger than the club. So whoever is the captain for the day will make the calls. And of course, the process of selecting the captain is it's really, really, really rigorous. So by the time they give you a captain and say this is a KOBs captain, you know that person is suited. There are no factions within the player saying I think the other guy should have been the captain. It also helps for people to know that yes, this is the right captain, and so every call he makes will respect. But it's coming from a history of the previous captains, and of course even in the history of the club, there have been other legendary captains who also were respected.
Okay.
But also, it's easy to be captained by somebody who you're sure is having a perfect game every time he played.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, it made it easy for him to be respected.
Sir Clive Woodward said he gave the criteria to be a captain. Number one, your position on the field should not be under
threat.
Okay.
That is it. You can't have a captain who some people think shouldn't be starting. That's the first step in disrespect.
Yeah. You should be the first person on the team sheet.
And nobody questions your position. Because you are at that level where you even sit in the
selection panel.
Selection. Ideal as a captain, you're supposed to do that. You sit. So if your position is not safe, how are you sitting and
how are you leading guys?
How are you sitting and saying the other guy shouldn't start?
Yeah, you bench yourself.
That you decided not to put the other prop is better than you.
Yeah, so Trey Kapata says that these bros were by far the most friendly rugby players I ever met. As a boy playing for Box in Scrum, all of us as forwards wanted to be like those two. And on game day, business was business. Another notable character from the 2012 team was James Kimono. Where is that guy? He's asking about Justin's big brother.
I think James is in not so when you say he's in prison, he works for
Uganda
prison service. So when you
Yeah.
say he's in prison, someone may think
he's
in
jail,
incarcerated.
Mugisha Derek is asking, this one should be to you. I don't think he watched Steven. Why did he quit the game yet he still had edge on his side?
Who, me?
Yes.
What is having edge on the side?
First of all, props
go to 40.
Bro, Harris is still playing. He's 40, I
he
think.
retired 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, we've been behind news. Yeah, you see Bro Harris here.
No, of course, first of all, work, injuries, work, and then family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our former teammate Alfred Achila says that they were all passionate and dedicated to the game. And then some other comments from former teammates. Did you play with Joseph Aredo?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
There's a game.
Skinny Joseph Aredo.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
danger
one. Yeah,
the
skinny
danger.
Skinny
There's a
Joseph.
game
The D-Mark-
when they're saying
D-Mark
he's a bully, there's a
Cops.
game we're playing Heathens, and Matayo wanted to bully Aredo, and it drew for Matayo a line and said, you cross this line to him and you see.
But Aredo stood his ground, and you
Yeah,
know
Aredo stood, so
I respect
Big
that.
Bully was behind
I
waiting
respect
for-
that young man. Respect that young man. Fantastic rugby player. Fantastic fullback. A fantastic reader of the game. But that day was the day he set his mark, at least for me, to stand up. I think they're both Japs, so I think it was a Jap arrangement.
So he said that he quoted our tweet saying greatest safety net in Uganda rugby. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure you guys will probably understand it. Greatest safety net in Uganda rugby. Then Bruno, one of the fat cats, saying that Steve was a funny man on pitch, very active during handbags, but a hard guy too.
That I remember. He likes
to send you that
likes
photo.
handbags. He
You
likes
don't have
handbags.
that
yeah.
photo of him checking Chano.
Please send the photo if you have it.
I'll send it
You
after
said,
the
you
photo.
said,
And
you
you tell
said.
Bruno, is this what you
Is this what you mean?
Yeah, he loved the handbags.
So guys, as we close, I want to ask, now that the playing side ended, do you guys have aspirations to be particularly involved in the game in different capacities? and not just being those old retired guys that say nowadays. Do you guys have, or are you already doing it to be part of maybe club management, national team participation in whatever way you can serve?
From my point of view, of course, right now I have so much commitment on other things that I'm doing, but long term, I intend to have those aspirations. Long term being maybe 3 to 5 years. But for now, it is focusing on certain things in life, and then I can get back to that. And that is why I'm a bit rare when it comes to watching the games. I'll probably come for 3 or so of KOBs games in a year, but the ambitions still stay. Yeah.
Same. Edwin, do you have any other particular questions for them?
No, I think majorly is that how do you now transition the family life and how it affects those who are still playing the sport. I think many people kind of take a step back when they start the family making. Now, me and him, we don't understand these things because for us, we don't understand. But how impactful is that in keeping eyes on the game and at the same time also actively participating?
The one thing that I've tried, I think one of the box kids spoke about it, being friendly to everybody around the rugby club setup and all that. I think for me right now, what I do is the KOBs players, even those who are young then, I'll reach out to them. They call me senior, and I'll call them and have a sitting with them. And I'll say, I don't really come and watch your games, but you guys, come. We have a sitting. They have come home on several occasions. They'll come home, and I've not watched rugby in a year, but I'll still get them to come home. So for me, that's the kind of impact, and the reason to do that is so that they can do the same when they eventually leave rugby. You leave rugby, you may not be there every day, but you offer, something from a mental perspective. When you get to sit with these guys and they're having those personal challenges, this girl and so this disturbing me. So you can get to give them advice. I have this financial crisis. You get to give advice. So that is what I can offer right now, hoping that these guys, when they leave, can also be able to offer that. Yeah.
Okay. BOD?
I think Stephen has pretty much summed up. We have basically the same
beliefs. I think maybe what I can twist in his question is that you are heavily known for, both of you, for not being very emotional people when it comes to the way you approach the game. How has parenthood challenged that or adjusted that?
Still rough.
You're a girl. You're a proper girl dad now.
It's a rough.
You have to be rough. You can't. The world is not easy. So there's nothing. There's no room for.
Parenting
tough.
Parenting is not a joke. It is harder than a heathen's KOBs game. Harder than. By the way, my son plays rugby under 15 for Namilyango.
For Namilyango?
Yes.
We captured under 20.
Yes.
But I have a video. I didn't send it to you.
He's under 15 and number 10 under
Stephen
15.
Lackham.
Yeah, Stephen Lackham. He's number 10.
Stephen Lackham.
He's lanky and all of that. So yeah, he's
nice.
He's in Namilyango under 15. So I don't even bother calling the coaches on his progress and all of that, because I want him to earn it. Because if I start calling coaches and speaking, then at the end of the day, he's there because Stephen demanded, and then he ends up not the word to use, embarrassing you when you come at an older age and he wants to play for KOBs and he can't make the cut. So let him work hard and earn it, and if he's good enough, the coaches in every level of his life will select him for that. But that said, parenting is harder than playing a heathen's KOBs game. Yeah.
Interesting. And I think one last thing, or maybe the second last, would be, what legacy would you love to leave behind? Leody, let's start with you on this one.
Are you saying we intend to die?
No.
If you died, what would they think of you? What would they say?
Proud of what you have now, regardless. Yes.
What legacy would I love to leave behind?
Yes.
to be maybe to be a person who, of course, in the transition, the growth of the game, to be that person who had it, even if small input, at least for people to come and say, yeah, this guy kick-started the growth of the game into what it is right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steven?
At that time.
Me, my passion really has always been towards helping people. Irrespective of who you are, what level of life you're living. So if I'm to do something right now, if I'm to be called tomorrow by, say, the union and say, come and join us in a CSR program that we want to run for the next 5 years, I would have time for that. So for me, a legacy, if I ever get back into this whole rugby thing, it would be trying to ensure that rugby has a fundamental CSR drive that is focused towards helping people, and we can sit back and say there are these impoverished communities that are better because of rugby, and if my hands or footprint is in that, I will be a satisfied person.
Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, what's that one thing you appreciate about each other? I know there may be many, but choose one.
Other than his intelligence, he's open-minded and he speaks his mind, and that is the greatest asset you can ever have. A person who speaks his mind, you know that he'll never stab you in the back. If you're wrong, he's going to say the truth, you're wrong. So
yeah. BOD can call you and complain about something like 20 minutes. Guys.
That is what it's supposed to.
And doesn't whatever I complain about, don't you?
Why didn't you squeeze
realize
this guy on this issue?
And the good thing is that when you have had that conversation, that matter ends there and then. There is no going back. So honesty in criticism.
BOD?
Of course, there would be many things, but most of me is him. It's because of him. So if you summarize it and say a mentor, I think that would summarize everything. So everything that he has said about me, I got it from him. So of course it's really a blessing to have such an elder brother, like somebody who steers you in line, and you see we have so many similarities. Only differences could be Liverpool United. Otherwise, every other thing we're basically on the same path. So for me, that would be to call him my mentor.
Well, I don't know if there is any other better way to spend close to 2 hours than having this conversation. I think the second best way you can spend close to 2 hours is listening to this. So please make sure you share with everyone that you can think of. A very great conversation between two great lads, two great brothers, two great servants of rugby in Uganda. And of course, special shout out to the Gardens Nigeria for, of course, giving us the opportunity to have these conversations in such a serene place. And of course, as you can see in the background, there's a lot of planning happening for the rest of the night. But otherwise, it's been a great one. Thank you for your time. Cheers, Edwin, as always, for these great conversations that we have. And guys, thanks for being a part of this, and we shall see you when we see you. I was going to say next time, but I'm not sure when next time is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. Cheers.